My interest is peaked, I'm not gonna lie. Why gaming isn't fun anymore, let's see. Are you guys having fun right now? Maybe not. Maybe this video is very relevant to you. Let's find out.
Listen, guys, here's the thing. I'm old. I have gray hairs. But there's one thing that's been in my life since my hair was short and full of color, and that's video games.
Yes.
But recently, I've realized that I spend a lot more time consuming content about video games than I do actually playing video games. In fact, in the past couple of years, there's been months at a time where I did not play a single minute of video games. And it most certainly is not because I'm a busy and accomplished adult with a roaring career and social life. Because quite the opposite. My life mostly...
Look, if you like video games, there's always time for video games, okay? I have 3 kids. I'm an attorney. I find time to play.
Revolves around watching YouTube videos, streams, and shows. But I actively miss playing video games and spending countless hours immersing myself in creative worlds and game systems. And it seems like I'm the only one with this problem. All of my friends still have the games that they're obsessed with and play all the time. I personally don't enjoy most of those games since...
Wait a minute, what the hell is this? Sure, bro, we can play split screen. Here you go.
I personally don't enjoy most of those games since apparently I'm a boomer that hates games now. So what's the deal? Am I growing out of this hobby that I've loved for so long? Or perhaps I'm just
I enjoy raiding the most.
The infestation of corporate greed and its insatiable hunger for infinite growth afflicted upon us at every corner, in every game, with cash shops and battle passes, so many battle passes, and coins, and the crystals you have to buy, and the crystals, you don't get the right amount of crystals. And
do you guys think free-to-play is like the worst thing to ever happen to games? Sometimes I do. Sometimes I think free-to-play was the worst thing ever.
Doesn't make sense for all the items in the shop because you have a little left over because they want you to spend more money. Or maybe games are just bad now. Or is it some other nuanced collection of reasons that I'm going to spend the rest of this video exploring and talking about?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, games are definitely just bad now.
I'm taking a break for a second. I'm going to invite him. Whoever wants to stick around can. Whoever doesn't, I'll let the rage shrink. I don't care.
It was the early 90s. One of my earliest, most vivid memories of video games was the Christmas that I got a Super Nintendo. I got this Mickey Mouse.
So this guy must be older than me because my best memory, my first memory, is the Christmas I got Nintendo 64. I was born in 1990. By the time my parents were okay with video games being in the house, because at first they weren't. They were like, go play outside, you can't play video games. Nintendo 64. Got it for Christmas. Changed my life.
Mouse game called The Magical Quest, starring Mickey Mouse. I remember just laying down in my living room for hours playing on my little CRT TV. It was like crack to my tiny little underdeveloped brain, just seeing pixels moving at my command. I was hooked, and that was it.
For me, it was Mario Kart. N64 and Mario Kart on Christmas.
The floodgates were open, throwing Foot Clan ninjas into the screen in Turtles of Time, collecting all the letters in Donkey Kong Country,
stomping Koopas
in Super Mario World, solving puzzles with all the cool items in the Link to the Past, that kick-ass intro in Super Metroid. I was hyped and stressed out of my little mind for that. This era was peak gaming and would forever solidify me as a Nintendo fanboy. But then, a few years later, the most fateful day of any kid growing up in the mid-90s, the Christmas...
What the fuck's going on up here?
Where I got my... It was that sick-ass green one that was bundled with Donkey Kong 64.
Yes, I had the green one too. Because for some reason our N64 broke at one point, and I wanted to get Donkey Kong, so I did get the green. Man, what happened to these clear... What happened to clear plastic? I miss that shit. Clear plastic casings and colored casings were... Remember when all the Macs were with that too, and then all the Nintendo 64s were... I miss the clear colored casings, man. The Game Boys too. Yeah, I had this one. It's a good one.
In that little RAM pack.
Love Donkey Kong 64.
Games were 3D. Donkey Kong, Mario, Zelda all had an entirely new dimension to explore, opening up so many gameplay options. But that wasn't all, because you could play with 4 players. Mario Kart, Mario Party, Smash Bros. The rise of party games. You could sit on the couch with your friends, smacking controllers out of each other's hands, accuse them of cheating, ruin friendship.
Who used to play Nintendo 64 Mario Kart and turn the controller while you were playing to try to steer your vehicle? Yeah, I remember. One of my cousins called me out, told me I was a noob. There was no such thing as noob back then, but he said, stop doing that. That doesn't actually control your car. Just use the joystick.
It was great.
He taught me real quick.
Party games weren't the only thing that benefited
He was older than
from
me.
the 4 controller slots. Multiplayer first-person shooters. My friends and I
Yes.
spent countless hours on GoldenEye 64. We even used
So
to
I
get...
slept over my cousin's house when he got GoldenEye 64, and we played that shit all night. But my parents never let me get it because they thought it was too violent. They saw how the blood drips down the screen when you die, and they were like, this game is not for kids. You cannot have it. So I never actually owned GoldenEye 64.
cardboard boxes and taped them up
But
to
I
the
played
screen
plenty
to
of it at other
section
people's
off so that you
houses.
couldn't screen look. We took that shit very seriously. Now, by this time, first-person shooters already existed on PC, but I had the crappiest Dell that was cheap and out of date even for the late 90s, though I was still able to play bangers like Roller Coaster Tycoon, Age of Empires 2, StarCraft. I knew the PC was eventually going to be where it's at for me. But for now, the next console era was upon us.
Oh, yeah. I got GameCube. I did get GameCube, but Nintendo GameCube era is when I first transitioned and got an Xbox. My first Xbox happened during... I originally got the GameCube, but about a year later I ended up buying an Xbox.
I really feel like there was two games in particular that defined this generation for me personally. The first game
Luigi's Mansion was great.
was Smash Bros. There was so many more characters in the first game, so many more
debated me.
stages. It controlled beautifully. It was a masterpiece.
It was
One time
good.
my parents made us go play outside, and so we stuck the TV up against the window and threw the controllers out there, and so we were all just standing outside playing Smash Bros. Through a window. And the second game
The ultimate
was
sleepover
Time
game.
Splitters 2. From the same
Time
developers
Splitters
of
too.
Gold.
The fuck is this? Yeah, the ultimate sleepover games at that point were Mario Party and Super Smash Bros. No doubt.
And I,
It wasn't
Time
a
Splitters
sleepover
would become
unless you
my
had
favorite
those.
shooter to this day. The game had an insane amount of game modes, tons of characters, a map editor that you make your own story missions. It had it all. One of my friends was a genius when it came to making maps, and every time we got together, he had a couple new maps that had some interesting gimmick that completely changed the way we played the game. One of my favorite maps of his was one where it was just this square. It was like a
That's my
grid
stream,
of
Josh.
rooms with doors. And we would run around with one shot, one kill. Baseball
never
bats.
played this game.
It was terrifying. If you've never played Time Splitters, I'm sorry, you're really missing out.
Again, this would have been a game that my parents said was too violent for me at the time. I would have never been allowed to play this or own this game.
The era of couch gaming would not last forever, though, and in fact, it was soon coming to a close. Monday, March 15th, 2004.
RuneScape. The beginning of the end for many. The gateway drug to MMORPGs.
This was the day that I created my first RuneScape account. It would be my first introduction into the world of MMOs, the genre that encapsulated everything that I loved about gaming.
Halo
The
swords and
adventure,
shotties,
the
zombies was the
immersion,
best.
Puzzle solving, crafting, and I could play and enjoy it with my friends and hundreds of people across the world.
This is cool that this was my first interaction with online gameplay was Xbox Live Halo. Yes, Halo gameplay online. That was like my first time really getting into online gaming. And yes, somebody mentioned it in chat. Playing zombie mode on Halo was amazing. I think that was more Xbox 360 era. Correct me if I'm wrong. But shotguns and swords was never-ending game content. We played that every fucking night on the weekends until 3, 4 in the morning. Oh my god, so good.
I had no idea what I was doing, but I was loving every minute of it. Later that year, a certain other MMO would release, World of Warcraft.
There it is.
Unfortunately, there was one issue. I still had dial-up internet.
Oh no.
It would be a few years until I got out of...
That wasn't my issue. My issue was my dad didn't like the whole subscription thing. He was like, what is this? Just buy a game and play it. Why you got to pay every month to play the game that you bought? He didn't understand it. And I personally didn't understand it either, but I knew I wanted to play this game. I wanted to play World of Warcraft. I'm like, Dad, I got to play this game. Eventually, my brother and I, there's only a year between us.
Ready?
Yeah. Are you ready?
Are you?
I don't know. Eventually, my brother and I convinced him to get us one account. So we used to take turns playing. So one of us would sit behind the other, and we would just watch the other one play. And then when it was time to switch, we'd switch. And we just made two characters. We played on one account for years.
dial-up hell. So in the meantime,
I'd
the
say
only
for
way I
8
could
year,
play World
maybe.
of Warcraft was either by playing at friends'
And then I
house.
put a second account on my mom's credit card.
or sneaking the installation onto the school
Dad never
computers in
noticed.
the library, which I absolutely did. They were not very well managed at the time. I wouldn't hit max level in World of Warcraft until the tail end of
I'll
Burning
check it
Crusade
out.
just before Wrath. But by then, World of Warcraft was the game that I played, and it would
That's
remain
right.
that way for several years until about halfway through my senior year of high school.
Oh no, it's
That's
still
when I
that
got
way
beta
for me.
access to StarCraft II: Wings of Liberty. My friends and I were so hyped for this game, we spent every day in school in our computer class just playing StarCraft II. I fell in love with competitive gaming and esports because of StarCraft II. It was the first game that I actually tried to play competitively and work my way up a ranked ladder. I would practice almost
Man,
every day with
top-down RTS was so big back then. I loved them too. I played Red Alert all the time. Age of Mythology, Age of Empires. What else? Even the Lord of the Rings one. They had a Lord of the Rings. I forgot what it was called, but I played it. It was great. Fucking loved it. Even like things like Roller Coaster Tycoon, Zoo Tycoon. Oh my god, I put so many hours into
friends,
those kinds
watch
of games.
Day 9 and Husky videos, aspirations of going pro. I only ever made
Dawn
it
of
flat,
War,
but getting to
Command and Conquer Generals. Oh shit, so much time. Can I have some shoes?
that
Yes.
felt incredible. I remember my friend and I used to wake up at like 5 in the morning to watch the
What the
GSL.
fuck?
And in 2011, as a
What is this? They're playing in a box? I never saw this before. What the hell? So you don't screen watch? They're playing inside of a cubicle?
morning to watch the GSL.
It's claustrophobic. I hope these things
And
were
in
air conditioned.
2011, as a broke college student in Orlando, Florida, I bought a ticket to MLG using a literal bag of coins. But it was such an incredible experience. My friends and I got to meet all of our favorite players, Huck, In Control. We also got to meet Day 9, Husky, Artosis, and Tasteless. It would be my very first, and unfortunately, my very last live gaming event.
Oh no.
And eventually, StarCraft 2 would give way to League of Legends, which a few years later gave way to Smite, which would
I
be the
played a
last
little bit of
competitive
Smite.
esport game that I played seriously. None of them really grabbed me in the same way that StarCraft 2 did, and I'm not sure any other competitive esport ever will. This was about the peak of gaming in my life. The best of it all came before, and I feel like I can pinpoint the exact year that the steep slope downward began. And
I
that
feel if I had to pinpoint a peak of gaming in my life, I would say it was like 2007 or 2006 maybe. 2006 to 2009, like I'm talking about like Burning Crusade to Wrath of the Lich King era. That was insanity. Oh my god, so good. So good. So many good memories, staying up late, complete degenerate lifestyle, just jerking off and playing WoW 24/7. God, take me back. Take me back. A life just built up on dopamine.
year was 2014.
Good times.
This was the year that StarCraft was all but dead. The year Warlords of Draenor came out, the first ever World of Warcraft expansion.
We'll get
that
a
I
serious
did not
attempt
buy
in
or
real.
play.
Don't worry about it.
This was the year Destiny released and was a massive disappointment.
Yeah,
This
I
was the
played
year
Destiny
that
for like
Smite
a minute.
introduced loot boxes. This
Oh,
was the
no.
year that WildStar released and failed.
I was excited for WildStar. I was. I still think this game, for some reason, it just like bad luck didn't work out.
And every year on from this point just seemed to be one big disappointment after another. It felt more and more common for games to release unfinished or broken or have some predatory monetization.
Yeah.
Every year seemed worse than the last.
Free to play.
Gaming seemed different now.
Have games changed?
The gaming industry has grown incredibly fast since I first picked up a controller.
Oh
In
yeah.
fact, in 2021, the games industry raked in more cash than music and film combined. A good
That's
bit
right.
of this growth can be attributed to the rise of mobile gaming,
Fucking mobile
which in
games.
2021 made up 45% of the total revenue in the industry. And of course, the stench of this heaping pile of cash would not go unnoticed by the insectoid swarm of C-suite executives. And with their grubby little shit-stained appendages and their dungus touch, they've pushed hard to make console and PC gaming monetization more closely resemble that of
yeah.
a mobile game, attempting to normalize all the same underhanded tactics which apply psychological manipulation in various ways to pry as much money
True.
as they can out of its users in a predatory manner. Whether it's feeding off of players' addictions by implementing gambling adjacent mechanics, or their frustration by creating problems and selling back the solutions, or
Yeah.
FOMO with limited time, buy now expensive skins. The online nature
Fortnite's so good at this. They're so good at this.
of the live service model has primed games for
Don't
these
miss
sort of
out.
exploitations. It's not completely without its pushback though, as we gamers have been successful in combating some of these changes, as is the case with loot boxes, as we've pretty much eradicated those from most PC and console games at this point. Though it definitely seems like a
Boxes are
losing
garbage.
battle, as every year more ground gives way to the normalization of such strategies in like a one-step.
It's, loot boxes are trash, but what's becoming really bad? Currencies, man. Just like different kinds of currencies to buy different things. And I'm not talking about in-game WoW currencies. I'm talking about currencies that you buy with real money. That's becoming a big issue.
Step forward, 10 step back kind of way. For example, if we look back, it wasn't that long ago when DLC was considered outrageous. It was seen as devs taking content out of the original game and holding it back to sell later. But as always, the ground gave way, and the conversation shifted to whether or not it was day one DLC, or how much effort they put into the DLC, if the content was worth it. Fast forward to today, where similar conversations are being had about the pay-to-win debate, where at first any pay-to-win is completely unacceptable, to now being able to find conversations about how a certain game is not that pay to win. But complaining about monetization
So
in games
sad,
is nothing
man.
new or original. In fact, it's an oversaturated market, and at this point, just feels like beating a dead horse. It seems you'll never get enough people to care about this topic, and until that happens, nothing will change.
Oblivion had the best DLC.
Instead, I'd like to talk
I
about
remember Halo having pretty good DLC, like the map packages and stuff. I thought those were pretty good back in the day. Like, we used to get excited to buy them. We get a new big team battle map, some other new Slayer maps and stuff. I remember those being pretty fun and good. But the DLC has gone completely in another direction since then.
a bit of a hot take here, that in the past 10 years, gaming really hasn't changed much at all. The gaming industry feels pretty stagnant. If I compare games as they are now to how I thought they would be by now as a kid, the picture is very disappointing. As
True.
a kid who just discovered MMOs like RuneScape...
I mean, look. 2004. I'm still playing the same fucking game. Except now it's filled with tweakers who dance around in a raid while I watch YouTube videos. Yep. Gaming hasn't changed much.
in World of Warcraft, I was blown away by the
2023,
idea
boys.
of what MMOs could be in the future. I would hop off World of Warcraft and go play Dungeons & Dragons and think, man, one day World of Warcraft is going to have the same level of choice and consequence that I can have with my imagination playing D&D. Now, obviously, that hasn't happened yet. And as a
No.
kid, I didn't know anything about game development. But I've heard a similar observation from Razboon in his video series Gaming for a Non-Gamer, which is a great series, and I recommend you check it out, where he
Yeah.
discusses his wife's disappointment discovering video games for the first time.
Her expectations for what she thought she could do in each game were always different than the reality, and I think as she realized that games were more simple than she had first assumed, some of the intrigue about them faded.
There's a massive lack of innovation and risk-taking in the AAA space, as we see games like Skyrim being
split.
released a
Thanks for
billion
coming, Ray.
times, The Last of Us is getting its third version of the game, Call of Duty ran out of ideas and decided to just loop back around and start re-releasing their games in order again, hoping nobody would notice, but they somehow made all the games worse so everyone noticed. Which brings
Just
me to
added a BR. That's all they had to do. Add a BR and
my next
re-release.
point, where not only are companies not
Radar
really
lecture.
interested in innovating at all, but they seem to be actively taking a step backwards in innovation. If you look at something like the original Fallout's super in-depth
What
dialogue
the-
system versus Fallout 4's dialogue system, it's a huge step back. And that's a tame example. It gets so much worse. Blizzard, for example, figured out that they can retroactively ruin a 20-year-old game with Warcraft 3 Reforged. Well, I guess that was pretty innovative. The only real innovations coming out of this industry are coming from indie developers
Yeah,
and
indie
modders.
developers.
The latter
Because innovating is expensive when you're doing it at a massive scale, and there's no guarantee of return on investment. So any AAA company is going to be very scared to innovate. Whereas like a single guy making a game, he's like, yeah, I'll give this a shot, see if this new system's any good, and if it's not, I can just patch it out, do something else. They're not in it to make, they don't have to pay thousands of people a salary, upkeep a building, deal with licensing agreements and all kinds of other shit. No, they're just making a game. They're going to put it on Steam, see if it works or not. And if it makes money, even just a little bit, well, that's not bad because it's going all directly into their pocket. They don't got to deal with investors and all kinds of other shit, too.
of which is responsible for the two biggest
system's
genres
not
in
set
the
up
past
for
decade,
innovation right
and
now.
that's without even the expectation of getting paid. Isn't that weird? Kind of goes against the conventional capitalist thinking, huh? Looking at the trajectory of the industry, it's really hard to not just be depressed about it all and wonder if the industry can ever course correct.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't hold my breath.
It's weird to think that things like YouTube, Reddit, and all these other social media sites haven't really been around that long. And yet it's sometimes hard to remember what it was like before they existed. These sites have made data mining, crowdsourced information, and video guides all accessible to everyone at all times.
Yeah.
In some cases, the internet will have every bit of information about every mechanic and secret in a given game before they even release. And all of these things have drastically changed how we play video games. Let's take a look at a game like World of Warcraft. If I had to describe how I feel playing retail WoW in one word, it would be emptiness. Not because of a lack of content necessarily, so much as the game just kind of feels soulless.
It kind of does. It kind of does. It doesn't feel magical anymore. I don't know. It's like someone's pulled back the curtain. Damn. That shit hit hard.
Where before, the game was about adventure and discovery, it is instead now a game about optimization. It's essentially a solved game where add-ons and logs have optimized gameplay to a T, with little room for experimentation or
This is
freedom.
the top of the charts. Marksmanship Hunter. Everybody start making Marksmanship Hunters right now. If you are playing survival, you're a fucking loser. Get off your chair and delete the game immediately. Frost and Fire, you're not getting invited to any groups. Go home. Go home and wait for the next patch until your shit gets fixed. Anybody who's below this right here, Frost DK, if you're playing anything below Frost DK, forget it. Forget it. Okay? You got to optimize. You got to play the right class at the right time on the right spec, and you better be playing it the right way. You're getting fucking kicked. That's WoW today.
Creativity. Which is fine. I mean, no one likes to play suboptimally. I'm not trying to vilify optimization, because it can be quite fun for some people. Take speedrunning, for example. Speedrunning is such an interesting hobby to me.
Oh yeah, the younger
something
generation.
I've always wanted to get into, but I've always felt a little...
Younger generation can't play WoW because they don't get instant gratification. They want to play a BR, game lasts 5 to 10 minutes, and then they're done. They can't play the long haul game of WoW. No way.
Intimidated by. The stuff that people are able to achieve with speedrunning is truly mind-blowing. Some of which is only really possible because of the interconnected nature of modern gaming, where sharing glitches and exploits is part of the fun of collectively iterating on runs to shave off more and more time. But then if you look at something like RuneScape, one of the most solved games that has become literally all about the optimization, you'll find a community who's made it a tradition of coming up with off-the-wall challenges and restrictions inflicted upon their accounts, also known as Snowflake
It's kind of like hardcore WoW. Same shit.
accounts, so that they are forced to forge their own path. There's no guide to follow on how to clear one of the hardest raids in old school RuneScape if you're not allowed to leave the swamp zone. But one man, after 3 years of theory crafting, grinding, and 33 very entertaining YouTube videos, was able to accomplish that goal, with hundreds and thousands of people watching and loving it.
Yeah.
So clearly, the problem for World of Warcraft isn't just optimization itself. It's that optimization isn't just confined to the few who enjoy it, but instead sort of forced onto everyone else.
Oh yeah.
With all these tools available to everyone and things like Raider.io assigning public completion scores, everyone is expected to be fully optimized or not play the game.
Yeah.
Because again, no one likes to play suboptimally. Ignorance truly is bliss. It's my opinion that this is the real reason why World of Warcraft has been struggling. Like Asmongold has said, Blizzard has ignored the casual audience and failed to produce fun and compelling activities that aren't just about the optimization. Instead, they just continue to double down on the raids and dungeons, catering to this nature of gameplay.
Yeah.
Now, as of this recording,
I feel like Dragonflight's taken a step back from that, though. They really have. Shadowlands was like peak optimization and going as hard as you can and fucking shit up because you want to try to extend the length of the race to world first. They've said fuck it. They went back to just trying to make the game, you know, not so much that you have to optimize everything to experience all the content.
Has not released yet, so maybe that will be the expansion that fixes this issue. But it's not just retail.
It has been.
A lot of players were excited about Classic and logged in expecting to recapture that nostalgic sense of adventure. But things are too different now. The way we play games is too different now.
Yeah.
The game didn't seem nearly as hard as they remembered.
It's not just WoW that's changed. It's society as a whole. It totally is. Even if WoW came out today for the first time, I don't think the feeling would be the same because, like he said, the internet and the interconnectability of everything has changed things. Where you would start looking up guides right away and all kinds of shit rather than just exploring on your own. And by exploring on your own, you would be shitty. Just FYI, you would suck at the game, but it would be way more fun to play.
World not as vast. But I think it comes down to the fact that every facet of the game has been solved already, and that the joy of the original release lied in the discovery and the journey. Now, this is not everyone's opinion. There's still plenty of people that very much enjoyed Classic. This is mostly just anecdotal sentiment from me and my friends. But I do think that this might be
It was
why
cool
so many
because
people
it
get
wasn't so
excited
much
whenever a new
info
MMO
like
is
what
released.
now, yeah.
It's a chance to discover things for the first time, to not be beholden to the methods and builds that someone else already figured out, and everyone is
The
expected.
shitty thing is, like, even now, like, a new MMO comes out, like, say when the League MMO comes out, you're going to have people who played alpha and beta and already came out with guides. And then people just spam running through the content, like speed running and going nuts through the content rather than enjoying it. And if you're not doing that, you're
for
falling
you to
behind.
be the one that discovers those
And if you're
methods.
falling behind, you can't experience all the content. It's a fucking problem.
But for better or for worse, this is just the way the world is now. Maybe someday a game will come out that is immune to this phenomenon. A game that can't be solved, where the discovery never goes away. Doesn't seem possible,
It'd have to be a game that's
but
constantly
who knows?
changing.
Maybe someday.
Dramatic effect. Give me Stranger Things vibes. Have I changed? Yeah.
I don't feel like a different person. I feel like I always have been and always will be me. But I've changed my mind and opinions on a lot of things in the past 10 years.
Yep.
Growing up and dealing with adult responsibilities can be really stressful. You're
True.
faced with a lot of change and uncertainty, and it can be really easy to succumb to worry and regret. But worry and regret are just a waste of time. Time that could be better spent having fun. You know, people say video games are a waste of time, but personally,
Nah.
I think that having fun and enjoying your life is the best way to spend your time. But
Yeah, exactly. Saying video games are a waste of time is like saying enjoying your life is a waste of time. The fuck out of here. Get out of here, you all these what's it called? These bros, these fucking finance bros who are like, I wake up at 4 a.m. to fucking grind the stock market and grind my dick off into a grinder because I don't need a dick. If this is not financially benefiting me, I don't need it. Work out. Eat protein. Invest. Here's my book. Buy my fucking book and I'll teach you how to do it yourself. Bunch of bullshit. No. I wake up at 4 a.m. to fucking play some WoW.
what do you
Why?
do if you no longer
Because of dopamine, that's why.
enjoy your favorite hobby? With this fog hanging over my head, I began reminiscing on how I used to enjoy games. I used to spend countless hours grinding the ladder in StarCraft 2, working on refining builds, seeing small improvements over time,
Yeah.
making quantifiable progress in a skill feels so good.
Definitely.
The dopamine. But today,
The
if you asked
dopamine.
me to play just about any competitive game, I could not be fucking bothered.
Yeah.
I haven't played League of Legends in like 9 years, but I booted it up a couple of months ago.
I could give two shits about playing another season of Overwatch to try to grind the ladder. I don't care. I don't care.
My friends were telling me about all the new champions, and the new metas, and the new builds, and I just wanted to go take a nap. Is it because my attention span is shot? Is the lack of elasticity in my rotting brain protesting against me trying to shove even more useless shit into it? Maybe both. I used to have the drive to spend hours learning everything I could about a new game. There were times where all I could think about was whatever game I was currently playing. Thinking
Yeah,
about what I
I
wanted
remember
to
those
accomplish
days.
next, how I was going to do it, and I wouldn't stop until I finished.
I had dreams of playing WoW. Like while I was leveling through Burning Crusade and stuff, I had dreams that I was playing WoW. And then I'd wake up and I'd fulfill those dreams.
Nowadays, I'd be lucky to stick with the game for more than a couple weeks before I'm over it, regardless of if I
Can we
actually
pull soon?
finished
Yep.
it or not. So
Okay.
then, are there any games that I do enjoy? After so many disappointing letdowns and trying to enjoy games that just start to annoy me after 2 weeks, this question legitimately crossed my mind. And at the peak of my jadedness, one game proved to me that I did still indeed have the capacity to fall in love with the game. And that game was Valheim. A game that isn't
Valheim.
even finished yet, but a game that so perfectly created a sense of adventure and discovery that it reminded me why I
Interesting.
love gaming to begin with. So it seems there may still be remnants of a gamer deep underneath all the jadedness. I've proven to myself that I definitely haven't outgrown the hobby. Maybe I've just been playing the wrong games. And sure, the world is different, and the way we play games is different, but
Really? I've
there's
not
still
tried
fun to be
Valheim.
had. And despite the industry's best efforts to cannibalize itself, there will always be passionate indie developers and modders to pick up the slack and make good games and experiences. And maybe that's enough. Well, it kind of has to be enough. but I'm determined to rekindle my love of gaming. And that will be my New Year's resolution. I will begin my search to find the fun.
So he's going to jerk off? Is that where he just went? Yeah. Oh, fuck, that's loud. Yep, I think that's where he went. Off into the light. Grab his lotion and napkins. Yeah, okay, good. That's a good video. I liked it. All right, guys, you ready to, has gaming changed? Yes. Have you changed as a person? Yes. Does that mean gaming is no longer fun? No. Just means it's changed. We'll see. We'll see. I still think free-to-play is the worst thing ever to happen to gaming.